I'm calling the meeting to order at 6:32 p.m. I see no public forum and I see no public forum on the Zoom, so we'll move over to right away to correspondence. There was a lot of correspondence and two things I'd like to note. So it's heard, first of all, there were some really very kind words about our seniors programs and making appointments. Terry and Patty were singled out, obviously it's there, and they've done such a wonderful job. So I wanted to bring that to everybody's attention because I thought that's fantastic. And then another one I wanted to bring to your attention, which I know you all read, but I wanted the public to hear if they ever look at this, about our lifeguards, Gabriel and Jack, and how they helped to provide medical care and assistance to somebody who was injured. And that wasn't, it was in the breakdown, so it wasn't even on the beach or anything, but they went above and beyond. So they should be commended and thank them for that. There was lots of others. Any discussion on the correspondence?
If I can make a comment just on one thing, the only reason I threw it in is Todd shared this with the disc golf course.
Oh, yeah.
Just a lot of interesting facts and figures that show that like in the month of July, there was 288 rounds scored on UDisc is an app that disc golfers can go on and it follows them and they can report the scores, where they play, whatever. So that's not, there could be 200 more people. This is only people who are on UDisc. But 288, it showed 10 players came from 300 or more miles away, 16 different states, including Virginia, Utah, Wyoming. You know, I don't think they come just to play disc golf, but they're in the area and they go there. You know, that's great. Say that in our courses, people come from Wyoming because they heard about the course.
Maybe they did.
They're here, and, you know, they play it. But anyway, I only threw that in here just to show you. I thought it was pretty interesting.
It is. I thought it was interesting. I'm glad you explained it as well. What it all meant.
I just want to piggyback on something you said though, just while it's here. It's the seniors, busing and providing transportation for people. You know, as you know, I'm here quite often. There are a lot of people who are using our transportation more and more and more. And I think it's a program that we have to look at in the future, because I think this is growing on us and it's growing rapidly.
Excellent. Maybe we can check with some, but maybe put that on a future agenda.
Well, it's something we need to start to
look
think
at,
about.
Think
this.
about.
I got Terry do like a little analysis of the last 4 years, how much it's grown.
Yeah, in her spare time.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. She could rush that by
She's here on
tomorrow morning.
Saturday.
Yeah, we could.
Well, you know, we can have all the buses. We don't have enough drivers.
Right.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a key factor in all of this, whether or not the pay is
Right.
worthy enough for people to want to drive the bus. So,
And we also have to look at dispatching.
yes,
That's getting to be a bigger and bigger job in the office.
so, you know, people may ask us for rides, but we gotta have to provide.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we have to go to the selectmen or go to the human resources to find a way to upgrade pay scale for our bus drivers. I don't know what our bus drivers make as compared to a school bus driver. I don't know if it's in the same par, but it's in the same, what's the word I'm looking for, level of care that they're providing Guilford citizens.
Excellent, thank you. In-kind service report, did this kind of get stuck in the wrong place out of my?
No, we didn't, I should have put it on the agenda, it was just under. Just something I have to do every year to get the Board of Ed, they need it. But it shows that, you know, it's an estimate, you know, I mean, say 40% of certain time, you do the best you can. It's the same percentage every year. But if you look on the bottom right number, that $342,045, that's what we provide for kind of services to the Board of Ed.
Do they pay us back for
No.
that? No, okay.
So they need the report for some, I don't know what they use it for, but their finance director asks for that every year. It's always in August.
Okay. Thank you. I wasn't sure. And then, of course, there was apparently a quote Yes, so donated, and I want to ask was for any.
Now, right there, yeah,
Okay.
if you're looking at the office to the right, just for the balcony lounge, it's hanging up.
Excellent, I will go have a look. Okay, that was on to the approval of the meeting minutes, and someone would like to make a motion to. Minutes of 7 August. And a second discussion. Any changes? Okay, all in favor? Aye, and one,
I'm gonna abstain because I couldn't hear anything from Zoom.
and so 2 abstentions. So this will take us to review the expenditures. I do have a question. Right, actually, I always read it, but I don't often have questions. Under building maintenance.
What page, Laura, are we on?
Oh, I'm on page 2.
Page 2.
That's a mistake. I talked to Jen about that. It should have been on the 2 cat account, which is field maintenance. It's fertilizer.
Fertilizer, okay.
Yeah, that's, it's in the water, I said, right. Yeah, I did catch that, Laura, but I think,
Yeah.
she just did it.
And a freezer,
We did, because the one we had broke down, I believe, I've not gotten a commitment yet, but Rotary expressed an interest in helping us pay. We'll pay it all, but, haven't done it. Who was that?
I didn't hear that.
One of our three, no, but who, on the Rotary Club.
And then we'll discuss. I should have did that after. Okay. So somebody make a motion to approve
I
the,
will make a motion that we accept
okay,
the financial report.
second,
I'll second it.
second. All right, I started the discussion early, John.
Okay, well, on page 1. General Fund, 5400 is the last series. Utilities, what is the difference between Jacob Irrigation? and Jacob's?
One is domestic water, like the bathrooms and the showers, the other is irrigation, and splash pad. That's the biggest one, and irrigation is the other one, so we have 2 different meters there.
2 different meters,
Right.
okay.
So the beach, the splash pad was the 9 number?
Yes.
Wow, and we were thankful to have it due to the beach having been closed so many times this summer because of the bacteria levels, so it was a godsend in the end. Anything else, John?
I just have one question, other question, is that, these are August expenses, which is our second month into the new fiscal. I failed to ask previously, last month, how did our budget expenditures come as compared to budget for the previous?
I don't think I got a final printout from, because we go, sometimes some bills come right into August. Now, this is September, these bills, these are August bills, but July, June bills, sometimes we don't even get them till August, so they close out the accounts in August, so I should get an update, but last I knew, we were okay, we've never yet, in my time here, been over budget. I
So
think
the finance
we're not.
department will accrue them and assign it until then put them back into the correct account for the previous fiscal year.
Yeah, in fact, you might have noticed, even last month, I think Jen probably, well, maybe she, not here. It probably was not in your report, but when I get the bills, they'll say FY 24, FY 23. So I know that they went to last budget year, or they're this year. She separates them out. So we know it's based on the date that the product was ordered, not necessarily received. We ordered something in May, but we got it in July. It gets paid on last year's budget, right? We normally do well in terms, I think some of the worst years, we might have been $20,000 to $30,000 left in it, but when I say worst years, I mean, other years we had a lot more than that. Maybe that's a bad year, but we, some years we spend more than others because the budget is always an estimate put together in October, November for a year and a half later.
You sorted, John?
I
Anyone
was
else?
all sorted out.
Any questions? This, So all in favor of approving these expenditures with the 4,118 moved to building maintenance? Is that what I do? Do that?
We're proving it, but it's just, we just got to move it, but it's still the bottom line.
And the bottom line is still the same, all in favor? Same. So we'll take the committee director's reports and the department reports as read unless anyone has any questions or discussions.
I just want to say I'm sorry to see Victoria leave. And I thought our summer concerts went over really well.
I have to say, I have an aversion to the mosquitoes. I can't, I think just a little allergic, so I did not attend any of the concerts for that reason. Because they would have found all the crowds, but I heard rave reviews from every concert.
Series.
And then the other thing, Rick, on Rick's report, I would say congratulations, guys, for getting the Friend of Education Award from the Board of Ed.
Yeah.
Kudos to you all.
Unfortunately, our two program people were on vacation. So they
That's
couldn't go.
okay. They've done a great job, so I'm glad they were. acknowledged
Dr.
for the work
Freeman
they
did a great introduction. Really says some very nice things about her.
Good.
Just one other question on the, Terry Buckley's report, the new ARPA grant for the purpose. New bus to the fleet, or is this to retire?
It's replacing one that's out of service now. And I was gonna comment that Terry did an amazingly good job on, I read the grant. I mean, it was a lot of pages, and I read it, after she, created it. And got awarded the $68,000. That's going toward the bus that we're gonna be getting in October. So it's ordered. We'll have it in October. It's a 15 passenger to replace 15 passengers that we had before. You probably heard of it, Roland, it's T2. I mean, I have no idea how she identifies these buses, but it was T2. That bus. But it's a 15 passenger, replacing a 15 passenger. And I believe we have another one. Did we order it yet? We didn't, we're gonna order another one soon. We have another one that is in this year's budget to replace.
And is that this 15 as well, or is that what we,
That's a 20 passenger.
25? Yeah, because I think that's what we took when I did the trip, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Large.
But Terry did a great job. She really did it was a big grant. She did an excellent job writing it.
Terry does a great job, and I have to say, you know, I chaperoned one of the trips last week. Terry, our bus drivers are really also remarkable. I think we have an amazing staff here. And the bus drivers, they are very patient, very kind, very knowledgeable. They're great. And I see them, you know, all the time, and our staff here is patience of Joe. To put up with a lot of what they do, but we are very fortunate here. We have fabulous staff. That's my opinion.
So
One thing that was not on Tony's report, because it happened today, we had to remove a dead 3-foot long sand shark from the beach at Garden Point Beach. Somebody actually over the weekend called Todd, and he knows, said he saw it there, and so he texted Tony and me, and Tony, so one of our guys. Yeah, that's under other duties, not in the job description.
camera, what you do. Yeah.
Yep.
The Starks.
Dinner.
Starks, that's what's gonna say.
Where was it found? Where was it
The
found?
Harbor Pine Beach, Dana Avenue Beach,
Oh, yeah.
My beach.
walked up.
That's.
Yeah.
Any other comments on these reports?
No report, I didn't know there wasn't one in here.
Okay, that's okay. I do want to comment on a very successful camp season. It was on Camp Park. But I firsthand knowledge through my granddaughter who attended the camp, and absolutely, they were phenomenal. Her last day, they called and said, you know, she said she has a headache, but she actually had a very high temperature. Not COVID or anything, but they took care of her.
Yeah,
They're
great.
just every single one of those members, of the staff members, were excellent. Kind, the children love it. I
Yeah.
didn't see anyone just sitting there moping. And I had quite a few visits there, so once I spied.
All of our camps, sports camps, are all full this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally, good job, but, thank you, Victoria, putting those all together and overseeing them.
So, all right, so we'll move on to, the commission and staff, staff representative, the report of the committee. I know my tongue, putting over my tongue over here. Standing fields,
I did not attend, I was out of town.
Okay.
Just kind of been talking about the upper turf fence, which was replaced. But then the committee wanted to, there's a horizontal bar going across the middle of the fence. They decided to have that go the full width of the field, not just behind the goals. And so I think that was gonna get done this week. We got a purchase order for it and it'll be done this week. The only thing else is the Long Hill Parks drainage project, which is on the agenda, but it's done. Project's complete. So kind of the two biggest things. There's gonna be field walk on September 23rd, starting at 7 o'clock in the high school.
and that's where you walk all the fields.
Yeah, for as many as we can get. Okay, yeah, we don't do all day, but for about 3 or 4 hours on a Saturday morning.
I might ask to join just because I don't have a clue of where half these fields are, not having grown up. So I might walk with you or
So
not.
we usually start behind the weight room at the high school, go behind the old math building there. And we meet there and then we walk to synthetic turf field, both fields there and then the grass fields. And then we go off from there, by the Long Hill and what?
Nothing from Land Act. I do know that Susan attended her first meeting, said she had a lot to learn, and that's probably all she'd be able to say to us anyway. But she's not here, so we'll move on to unfinished business. Our favorite, Jacob Septic Improvements.
Anything on the green?
Oh, and nothing, oh, thank you. Green Committee, nothing.
No report. I think they did not meet last.
Jacob Septic Improvements.
I'm expecting to get the specs this week or next, get it out soon. The goal is to have the project be worked on in late October.
Which would be wonderful.
Yeah.
We'll just leave it at that. Shade at Splash Pad.
When you hear back from the architect for the cost estimate, and then we gotta go to planning and zoning.
And it is, that's Mr. Thompson, Will
Yeah.
Thompson, and so we congratulate him on having twin granddaughters.
Oh, how nice.
So I think that's exciting. I wrote that down because I love grandchildren. So, so congratulations. Program account, it's kind of in motion. I know Ellen has been working with Mary Jane on trying to figure out the best way to have that money come off the top of the certain accounts. That's all I know so far. No complaints, no changes, nothing. Pickleball expansion.
I got the specs finally last week from the engineer in that project. I wrote the rest of the scope of the work to be done. Actually got the quote from the contractor today. And I'm gonna go to Board of Selectmen Monday to have them award it.
Do we need to? The extra money.
So, yeah, so what we have budgeted 120,000, it's 142,000. Not unexpected, you know, again, these budgets were put together over a year ago and everything goes up. But I was gonna recommend that we take the balance out of the program account. I was gonna run that by Mary Jane today, but she wasn't in today to make sure she's okay with that. If not, then we're gonna ask her to come up with somewhere come with balance, by ARPA or something. But at this point, I think we should do it.
Yeah,
So-
okay, thanks.
So I think what we would like to do is discuss that and then make a motion whether we agree or not to agree, have a vote. So that frees you up to do what you need to do. It was my first question to Rick when he mentioned this to me. I said, oh, well, is Mary Jane okay with this? Because she might not like us. I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. So is there a discussion on the extra money for the pickleball court. Is there any questions or anything that anyone would like to ask?
No, I think
Just-
it makes sense to take it out of
Yeah,
the program
right.
account. That's what
Because
it's there for,
you know,
is program.
the original intent of that was.
That's the original,
account
that's
was
right.
to improve Programs and facilities.
Absolutely. So yes, I would make a motion that we take it, $20,000 from our program account, put it towards the expansion of the pickleball court.
22?
22,000, yeah.
22,000. All right, do we have a second for that? Thank you, Bradley. And all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No, all. Motion passes. That was good. You guys are good today. Long Hill Park drainage.
It's completed. They did a great job with it. That was under budget, by about $7,000, $6,500.
That will go towards the,
So-
go towards the pickleball.
It hasn't survived the rain.
You know, I didn't get a chance to get out there today, but expect it's gonna be improvement. So when we done it, other field, like the sod field at the high school, we did same process there pretty much.
Okay, shed and scoreboard at Long Hill Park.
Application is into planning and zoning. Their meeting is on September 20th, so I'll be there with the representatives from lacrosse group. Get that approved.
Excellent. New business, Club Scout Pack 472 requests to place 3 flag poles at Lake Quanah.
Yeah, I didn't hear back from them, so I would suggest if you approve it, we approve it. I'm not sure how far they're gonna go forward with that. It's Cub Scouts, not Boy Scouts. And, but there are 3, I think they're cedar poles up on the upper level, like where the pavilion is.
Oh, there, I was gonna ask, where are they?
Yep. Up there, and there are 3 of them by their fire pit that's up there. And, they wanted to replace those, so that was an Eagle Scout project a number of years ago. So.
And they need replacement.
I haven't looked at them that much, but yeah, they wanna do it. It's a great project. But,
So if they
I
want,
suggest you prove it, if you're gonna prove it, then I can get back to them. I just, I haven't heard anything more than an initial conversation that they wanted to do it. And I think I told them about the meeting, but I haven't heard any, this meeting, but I didn't hear anything back.
So then I would suggest we just table it to a year from
Okay,
we'd love to know what they're planning on
Yeah,
doing.
yeah.
And I was gonna say, make the motion subject to
now. I think we should
Rick's approval.
wait until we hear.
All right, so we move that up to unfinished business. We cross one off and we put another one up there. Request to name a bench at the bocce courts for George Mioli, who had passed on.
Yes,
And
yes.
Ruth would like to do this.
Yes, Ruth is still, Ruth sort of is sort of, she doesn't control, but she's doing a lot of work for the bocce. She performs the team, she does the roster, she does the picnic, we do the banquet. So Ruth has done a lot, and so did George, when George was alive. So Ruth has talked about this quite a lot, and yes, they meet all the criteria for our benches. So I would be very pleased to make a motion that we allow that we acknowledge this request to name French in honor of George.
Rose, sorry, do you have a design in mind? as to-
We have the benches, we have
the
yeah,
benches,
we haven't
okay.
put them in yet.
So it's a matter of just putting black on.
While we're talking about that, I was down at Chittenden, the Adirondack Shores, whose responsibility is it? So when the plaques get worn out. So. Fairs down at Chittenden. You can't even see on the plaque anymore what it even says. Is that something that like the family,
They,
can update, or is that something that
I
we?
believe the families of all, whoever bought benches or chairs, they got the little nameplate too.
Yeah, it's just to see that it's all worn out and that, it's in memory of someone and it would
Yeah.
be nice to just.
Well, the one at Chittenden, we know who those are, so they're pretty easy.
Yeah,
There's so many at Jacobs,
I know.
we probably have a list somewhere, but.
So, Diane makes a really good point, though. I mean, we've been allowing, not allowing, but we've been letting people put in benches with plaques and everything, but we don't always go around to see how they're doing and take a look at these flags. So maybe we need to do that.
Do bear out.
They do wear out.
Yeah,
Maybe we need to
especially,
think
yeah,
about
beach.
replacing or at least notifying the families.
So I think they would be more than happy to. You know what I mean? It just was sad to me when I saw it, cause I go down there often, I know the family, so I just was like, oh, it's just, you can't read it at all.
Maybe in the future, put the plaques in the back where they're not gonna grow.
Yeah, or like some sort of like a lucite, I don't know what they have for plaques to put something, piece of something over them, so they kind of just last longer, I don't know. But just a suggestion.
Give it back.
Okay, so back to the first, the item at hand, which is George Meoli plaque. Is your question regarding that?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So you, Rick, said we already have benches, for the bocce courts?
We bought 6 benches, two we talked about the last meeting going to, Adams. So
Oh,
we have those, and then I believe of the 4, 2 of them, I think we maybe get reimbursement for one of them. From Ruth, and I think the seniors might be paying for one of them,
yeah.
because it's a senior.
Are they
program.
replacing benches or just adding new benches?
They're replacing benches. They've got the aluminum ones down there that are not terribly sturdy.
Yeah,
And so
so they replace, oh,
the
good.
feeling is that we need ones that are a little more sturdy than
Yeah.
those, those aluminums that.
And it makes it more uniform, because there's one down there now for, a bocce player from
Yeah.
the town, the neighborhood down there. And they got approved a couple of years ago to put a bench there with a name on it. So we got the same one, same exact bench.
Yeah,
so
we
it's
talked
gonna
about
look-
this like a year ago about getting replacing benches out there, like a long time, yeah, right, and I ring a bell, I got it.
And the ones that we used to have down there were just flat, concrete,
Concrete.
not comfortable at all. And those were donated many, like 20-something years ago.
Can I make a motion? I make a motion that we name one of the benches after, one of the new benches to be installed for George Meoli.
Am I allowed to second? Second.
You have a spot where you wanna place it? You do, okay.
And the last bit is policy on resident, non-resident registration.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I wanted to meet with Ellen and Terry, and I couldn't find a time when both of them were
So
available.
just table that till next
There's some
time.
vacations and everything, but I wanted to do it.
Okay. Should we say the basis of it or just put it
Yeah.
on?
Yeah, sure.
This little campus fabric.
So I think part of it is that, many years ago, it used to be that we had non-resident registration a week after resident registration. And that's kind of got blurred a little bit over time, and, part of the problem if we go, I'm mixed, I think in some ways, yes, residents should have first choice. But the problem that might create, in a lot of our fitness classes, for example, some people maybe not be residents, have been in a class for 5 or 10 years. And is there a chance now they develop a relationship with the instructors and they come to expect it that they're now not in it, they pay more. Non-residents always pay more for everything, whether it's a trip or senior trip or program, they pay more. And Terry makes a good point that if we didn't have non-residents on a lot of our trips, the trips wouldn't even go. But residents can sign up first still, right? And then we can open up to non-residents. We did do that with pickleball this year, because there's 300 people playing pickleball. We made sure that residents had first shot at getting in, to that program. And, non-residents registered a week later. So we can decide, again, I wanna get their input on it. Why don't you know, their preference is to keep doing what we're doing. But I'd rather come up with, and give you a proposed policy rather than have a lot of debate now about it. And get Ellen and Terry to weigh in, and then we'll develop something.
So we'll table that until next time, but that's the basis of the conversation that will happen this time.
I have 2 things, can I add to the
Yes,
agenda?
please do.
Both of them are resignations. One is Florence Chittenden, who's for 50 years of teaching gymnastics. She contacted Ellen a little over a week ago and said she can't continue. And it's a big loss, because for her,
Say that again?
Florence
Florence
Chittenden,
Chittenden.
for 50 years, been teaching gymnastics. She's not gonna do it.
So she was, She was celebrated for her 50th anniversary. But there's some, we were discussing if, what we can or be allowed to
should
do
do
to kind of say something, do something for her retirement. Again, we have a problem with the, how is it paid for, but we're gonna discuss,
Let's
figure
talk
that
about
out.
this. I think we do need to honor her in some way.
Absolutely.
She's been a part of this since
Now,
it
it's not
was
bad.
Church Street School.
Something besides a plaque.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
New car,
Yeah, I'm all for that. I'm all for that new car.
holiday.
So I had a staff meeting today about a lot of different issues, and just one of the things I brought up is that, right now, they're just trying to keep that program going.
Yes.
Taryn actually came in Saturday. She can't do that every Saturday, which this week she did with a couple of our camp counselors. And I think I've heard we may have an applicant, somebody who's got
Oh, great.
at least some experience with it, maybe not gymnastics so much, but cheerleading and some other things. So we had to cancel what's the upper level, the kids over 5 or over 7. The one where they're a little more skilled than just tumbling on mats. We had to cancel all of, those classes, because we don't have somebody qualified to do it. And the little ones is mostly parent-child anyway, so the parents in there or grandparent with the little ones, so some of it's playtime, really, what it is, using all the stuff, but anyway, Taryn did a great job Saturday, came to check on it for a little bit, she did a good job having the kids going on the balance beams, doing things. But, so I wanted to let you know that, the other ones is much, I can't say more impactful, but Patty Haggerty has resigned.
Patty is?
Her last day is October 27th. That's gonna be a big loss for Terry, big.
Yeah, big loss. Big
So-
loss for the buses.
We're working on getting that job description out this week to advertise it. I'll be on vacation in October, and I want to have it filled before I want to have it done before I leave.
When is she?
So that person's ready to step in, and work with Patty for maybe a week or so. Nobody knows the job better than the person doing it. And I want that person to sit with, just like I did when Shauna left, as
Shauna.
receptionist, Savannah sat with her for 3 days. Savannah jumped right in, like we never had a change. Because she knew it, she learned from the person who was doing it. And there's a lot that Patty has here and here that you can't find in a file somewhere. So, 11 years.
11 years.
She was a receptionist for a couple of years, I think, and then she's been with Terry for.
Else want to add to the last bit?
Let me see, have anything else on here? We're good, dude?
Can you read your-
No. I think I just want input, so we're doing some landscaping, the trees are starting to come down around the perimeter of the parking area there. They were posted since May to come down, so it's okay to take them down, there's no big protest or anything. But I'll tell you, Public Works here, I think they only got 3 of them down Friday, they're gonna come this Friday and take the other. Well, while they were cutting one of them, it actually wasn't their fault, but it hit the fence at the little preschool playground here. They came back, they fixed it right, that afternoon it was fixed. But the point I'm making is they only cut about 2 inches into the tree and it went. They said this tree was gonna go anyway. It's a good thing we're doing this because who knows, we get a hurricane or big storm or whatever, it could land on the car or something. And that's the problem with the Bartlett pears that we have, that nobody plants them anywhere anymore. They used to have anything in the center of town, they came down. We've had 3 or 4 that we haven't lost, that have just fallen down. And so, John Cunningham is working with us on planting something else. But one of the proposals is to put a maple tree in the courtyard. And I just want to get a little input on that, be a full-size maple tree that grows to 30 or 40 feet. Father thought about it, he's a landscape architect, he certainly knows what he's doing way better than I do. But one of the concerns there are some pipes drainage pipes underneath there. So we could get a map, find out a blueprint, find out where they are. But I don't know over time, the roots might do something there. plus the leaves getting in the gutter, you know, in the building
Messy.
here and everything. It would be a full-size maple tree. It could be 40 feet tall.
I have one in my backyard near my driveway, I have many trees. Yes. Butters.
It'll give us a lot of shade. I think
Oh,
that's
give
his
me a lot
plan.
of shade.
One
My
tree
husband won't
will
let me
shade
cut them
that
down. I'm like, that thing's gotta go. And he's like, it's messy.
So what is, I think what Rick is asking is, what do you all think about this, the big tree being placed in the courtyard? Or do you think we should be, as a commission, encourage this gentleman, whose name escapes me just now, to go with a smaller tree that's easier to maintain?
I would go to either a smaller tree or some, I still think a little, you need a little bit of shade over
Right,
that
yeah.
patio. So I don't know if we could put up temporary shade structures for the summer or something. But you know, you've got a beautiful garden that Todd does there. I mean, I hate to shade that with a tree in the years to come. Because
How about
I love
How
watching the
about something that
vegetables, the
doesn't get
flowers,
So large, like something that,
then it would provide the shade.
but I
for
worry
me.
about the drain,
Yeah,
the
I
root
agree.
system too.
That was my thought too. is
Yeah.
roots go in.
Again, he's a landscaper. He knows a lot better than
I'm
any of
sure
us
he
do.
does.
Yeah.
He just thinks that would be a good thing to put there. You know, I guess I know I can find the blueprint that shows where the drainage system is, but I'm pretty sure there's a pipe that goes underneath.
So Rick, he's talking about putting a full-grown tree already in, planting a full-grown tree.
No.
No, he has some picked out for the other parts that we're gonna do. Yeah, and usually get something that's like 2 or 3 inch caliper, you know, like
Yeah, okay,
size.
like 5 feet high, 4 feet high, whatever.
Something you dig a hole and you
Yeah.
put it in, you know, it's not like.
Yeah,
They're great now. So like I've been in my house 20 years. They're great then. 20 years later, humongous, messy, dying. I mean, I've had leaves falling in my yard since August 1st. And that's where I park my cars in my driveway. It's messy and I'm blowing that every day. I mean, I'm a little OCD about that stuff to begin with, but like, it's messy. It's messy.
I mean, I think we should defer to the expert. I mean, what do we know?
Right. I mean,
That's his job,
again,
right?
not to say 20 years, you know, it's gonna be somebody
I
else's
mean,
problem, but
he is the
should it have to be somebody
expert,
else's
but
problem?
I mean, maybe, you know,
Maybe
again,
we
it would,
could ask
it
for,
would shade, see if
would.
there's something else you could do, something that would shade quite so much of that
Okay,
courtyard
yeah.
in the years to come, because like I said, we do
Wouldn't
have
shed
a
it,
great
but-
garden.
It's like at Jacobs, he did all the side of all the trees are down
Yeah.
there and he selected form of locust because they have small leaves,
Yeah.
you know, and you can see through them. They provide shade.
Mhm.
Those, you know, on the grass area at Jacobs,
That's
that's
right.
where the real
Yeah.
are,
Yeah.
locust trees. They do provide good shade, but it's not a leaf. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
About that.
so it's our general consensus that he is the expert, but we think we would prefer something less
Less
large.
maintenance.
Is that right?
You're talking like leaves?
Oh, yeah, I'm talking like those twirly things. Come to my house from March to now. And I love maple trees, not, you know what I mean, they're fine with them, not in a driveway area or parking area or.
And don't forget, you know, we also have people are walking through there all the time,
Yes.
so we don't want it to get slippery or wet.
Exactly.
When leaves, yeah, and so we need
No
to be
trees
careful of that.
last. That's another problem.
Again, I think the idea was it would shade that, you know, one tree would shade
Yeah.
that whole area. That's what he was thinking.
There's probably different varieties of maple.
Yes,
And that might be too.
there are silver maples, like I have one of those too, that's fine. But yeah. Okay,
I'll talk to him.
Anything else, Rick?
That's it.
Anybody else have any comments or anything they'd like to add?
I just have one question. I sent the letter out with questions.
Yes.
So, topics that we have found. Is it better for the board for me to ask my questions in this format rather than doing it at this format?
Well, it has to be a general consensus, but I think because Rick was able to answer all the questions for you, he sent it back. And then we made it a part of the minutes by including it in correspondence, so we're transparent, where we're supposed to be transparent.
Because I do have more. And I just, what I tend to do is I tend to go back to the old minutes and read them and see what we have accomplished and what is still been left open. And, I just have, the request for information to see how we're.
Okay, so something, do you want to do the same format again?
Sure, I don't mind.
So he'll send the email to everyone,
Okay.
answer the questions if he can. Now we can put the subject on the agenda, and then we'll include it again into the minutes. Does that work for you?
That works.
Yeah, but just for transparency, you better check whether you can do that or not. Because freedom of information,
Well, then, so it's all here.
That's why it's put in.
no, but it's saying, freedom of information, it's all supposed to be discussed in a public meeting. There shouldn't be emails going back and forth.
There's, okay,
That's a big no-no.
I guess,
In
well,
my understanding.
I understand what Lawrence is saying,
Response.
but what Lawrence is saying is we are reading this, but the public does not know. We are not reading the questions nor the answers. So I understand.
My understanding, and I know a little bit of freedom of information, that's a big no-no.
Well,
Well, we get
if
a
it's part of the
report on
agenda,
department head
if
reports here. We used to read those all the time.
if it's part of the agenda, then it's,
Really, what's the-
it will be
I get what you're
read.
saying.
Yeah, we should not be discussing things via email. We should,
We don't.
the only time we discuss stuff is here at a public meeting.
so no one discussed the questions.
This
were
isn't
here.
a discussion. This is John asking a question and
That's
everything
right.
answered.
That's true.
And as long as you're not making a decision by email.
Right.
I would think. you
And
would.
none of us entered in. I did respond and say, thank you for your care and attention.
Well,
whatever.
that being said,
And
you can take me off the email. I don't want to get that.
This is nothing that I'm asking for a vote on.
Yeah.
I'm just asking for some follow-up
Well-
information on topics that we have discussed in the past that that are, in my judgment, are still open. And, for Rick to follow up with them in the format he did satisfies my request perfectly. But at the same time, I just didn't want it to be a one-to-one conversation because this is something that was discussed in front of the board in months previous that, as we go through our agenda, it may have fallen off. It may not have been a formal agenda topic.
It may not have had a vote or something that didn't end
That's
up in the
correct.
former, but was solved, et cetera, through other meetings. So
That is
I
correct.
mean, if I can make a suggestion, then if you have a question, put it on the agenda. And that'll cover us there. It's on the agenda. It's gonna be, the public knows about it, that it's gonna be discussed.
we went to a Freedom of Information Act, so I will pose the question before we do that, just because it keeps everything running smoothly. I will reach out to the gentleman who ran that for us and pose the
idea.
question. Because he educated us in things we can or cannot do, and ask if this is something we're allowed to do.
Yeah, you can, because I talked to Freedom of Information State of Connecticut. They return your calls. And
Yeah, no,
you can call them and they're very, they're very receptive. You'll get a call right back.
Like I was surprised. I attended and thinking, no, I really want to be here, and I found it fascinating. So I will pose that, get back to you, and in the meantime, do what you're doing, but you need to be on the, we can't just leave you off the email.
Yeah, I don't want to be on it. I want
You
to,
don't,
no, I mean, gets it. If we're gonna have,
you don't have to read it.
no,
That's,
I don't want to be on it. If you're gonna be throwing emails around,
No, it's
My
one
personal-
email and one answer.
was that?
It's one email clarifying something and one answer from Rick, not us. I'm not answering.
Okay.
You're not answering anything.
No, I answered you because I had the information. I wasn't sure.
Right.
So if anybody
some-
gets it, you don't reply, because if I had seen emails going back and forth, I would say, wait a minute,
Well,
I
that's what's
think I
gonna-
had to do that. to
Well,
you
that's what's
first
gonna,
time."
that's what's gonna happen. That's gonna end up happening. Emails
No,
gonna
it's
go
not.
back and
We're
forth.
not gonna do that. Okay,
All right.
all right, we'll check, John. I mean, Lauren, sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
We'll
you can go on the, I forget what the statute is, but it lists up the top of my head, I forget what the statute is, but it's very explanatory. If you go on the state of Connecticut website, there's laws and you can just read it. And it's very, very clear what you can and cannot do.
We will double check and make sure we're doing the right. Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it's,
I'm just checking, down there.
I don't want to be emails going back and forth.
Okay,
You don't want the same here. Well, you don't want the same copy. Right.
No.
Okay, so with that I will have someone make a call to adjourn meeting at 17 p.m.
So,
Second favor?
I.
Thank you everyone for your input.
You offer?